Coronation Street tease that beneath the steady drizzle and the familiar chatter at Roy's Rolls, a storm is quietly gathering, one born of half-truths and buried schemes that threatens to drench every resident in its cold downpour. In the soft grey light of early morning, Kevin Webster wakes alone in his flat above the garage, heart pounding in the hush before dawn. Outside, the distant hum of traffic stirs the cobblestones, but inside, time seems frozen by the weight of secrets he can no longer contain. Ever since he first felt the ache in his ribs and convinced himself it was nothing more than a stubborn cough, Kevin has been spiraling into a lie too carefully constructed to escape. He tells himself that he must protect ABI, her bright laughter, her unwavering faith in him, by maintaining this facade of illness. Each morning, he dons a brave smile and straps on the oxygen cylinder borrowed from Glenda, who visits dutifully, unaware of how deeply he has entangled her in his deception. He steels himself for the inevitable trip to the hospital for chemotherapy, though in truth he slips away before the nurses glimpse his arrival. On this particular Tuesday, Tyrone Dobbs intercepts him in the garage doorway, just as Kevin is about to slide out to freedom. Tyrone's eyes, filled with genuine concern, catch the flicker of panic in Kevin's. He steps forward, placing a firm hand on Kevin's shoulder. "Kev, you promised ABI you'd be there for today's chemo session," he reminds him quietly, voice low enough that no one passing by can overhear. But Kevin shrugs him off, too practiced now in the art of evasion. "I'm fine, Tyrone. You know I'm good." He urges Tyrone aside, insisting his friend keep the matter quiet, not wanting ABI to suspect his hesitation. Yet Tyrone senses a deeper trouble. He knows Kevin's guilt over past mistakes, his affair, the late nights away from home, but this feels different. He watches, frustrated and helpless, as Kevin slips past him and out the back door, oxygen tank clanking over the uneven stones. Tyrone remains rooted in the garage bay, breathing in the damp morning air, wondering how far Kevin will go before the lie collapses in on him. Moments later, Kevin rounds the corner, intent on avoiding the hospital entirely. He knows the back lanes of Weatherfield like the back of his hand, a winding maze that will deliver him to solitude. But as he rounds the final bend, he stumbles upon Carl Gallagher and Fiona Middleton emerging from the side entrance of the old mill. Their hushed laughter cuts through the dawn air like a blade. Kevin freezes, the oxygen line hissing softly at his side. From the shadow of a battered skip, Kevin hears Carl murmur, "Once my prototype is finished, we can pinch it from the factory. Flash drive ignition system, Carl engine design. I've already coded the schematics. We split the profits, Fiona takes her cut, and voila. Quick cash." Fiona's breathy chuckle follows. "Just like old times," she says, looping her arm through his. Kevin's pulse surges. Memories flash of late nights poring over engine diagrams, wheedling spare parts from underworld stocks, his own history of quick fixes and desperation rides in stolen cars. He had thought he'd left that life behind, but here stood Carl, resurrecting those old sins to line his pockets. Fury and fear collide in Kevin's chest. He steps forward, but in his haste, his foot catches a loose paving slab, and he crashes to the ground with a sharp crack. The oxygen tank topples, and the world tilts as pain rips through his side. Carl and Fiona whirl around, eyes widening. "Kev?" Fiona gasps. Carl half lunges, half steps back, his boot kicking dirt against Kevin's cheek. "What are you doing here?" he demands. Kevin presses a trembling hand to his mouth, blood trickling from a split lip. "I heard everything," he croaks. He struggles to rise, but the pain in his side stops him. Fiona moves to help, concern knitting her brow. "We thought you were at chemo," she says, distraught. Kevin grits his teeth. "I wasn't." Then, voice rising, "I saw you, your little con. Don't think I won't tell ABI." Carl's face darkens. In a wounded blur, Kevin slugs out, striking Carl across the jaw. Carl staggers, hand flying to the swelling that blooms beneath his eye. Fiona shouts in alarm as Carl grapples for breath, fury sharpening his gaze at Kevin. "You think you can threaten me?" he spits. He fumbles inside his jacket pocket and retrieves a slim notepad, fingers trembling as he flips it open. "I have all the details of your treatment dates, times, witness statements. I could call ABI right now, show her the truth." Blood pulses in Kevin's temple as he hears the threat, and though pain anchors him to the ground, rage lends him strength. "You wouldn't," he growls. "You'd be out on your ear. No garage, no business, nothing." He breathes hard, struggling against the vertigo that blooms from his fall. Fiona's eyes dart between them, fear and guilt warring across her face. Carl's jaw clenches, and for a heartbeat, time freezes. Then, with a sudden, harsh laugh, Carl wipes blood from his lip. "You're right," he says softly. "So here's the deal, you keep quiet about our plan, and I'll say nothing about your little escape." He nods to Fiona, who slips away, glancing back with a solemn, apologetic frown. Kevin, chest heaving, nods. Carl's victorious smirk stabs at him, and he realizes that this mutual blackmail has woven them into a single thread of deceit. As Carl strides off into the murk, Kevin remains on the damp ground, hand pressed against his side, the pain mingling with dread. He can already feel the lie growing around him, a noose tightening with every breath. A sudden voice breaks through his haze. Kevin Webster." Glenda Shuttleworth stands at the entrance to the lane, face pale with panic. "I heard a crash, and I saw you lying there." Shame flares in Kevin's cheeks. He tries to push himself up, but the pain sears. Glenda kneels beside him, checking for broken bones. "We need to get you to the hospital," she insists. "Come on, help me." Though mortified, Kevin allows her to haul him upright. He limps, bowed under the weight of more lies than he has ever carried before, back toward the bright lights and sterile machines that he thought he had evaded. By midday, the hospital corridors hum with activity. Glenda leaves Kevin in a wheelchair at the nurse's station, eyes wide with concern. He flashes a strange smile, then lowers his gaze. He cannot bear the thought of ABI discovering what he has done, or of admitting that he brought himself here only because he could no longer pretend to be brave. The needle of truth pricks at his mind, urging confession, but he pushes it away, wrapping himself tighter in silence. Not far from the chemo ward, Debbie Webster arrives carrying a small bouquet of chrysanthemums. She is expecting to find Kevin fragile, but hopeful, believing what he has told her, that he is undergoing routine treatment, responding well to the drugs. Instead, she encounters Glenda at the desk. "Where is he?" Debbie asks, voice trembling. Glenda looks up, brows knitting. "He's in the X-ray department, fell and hurt himself back there." She hesitates, then adds reluctantly, "He wasn't at the session. He slipped away." Debbie's heart stalls. Fury and fear wage a furious battle in her chest. "Why wasn't he there?" she demands, voice shaking. Glenda shrugs helplessly. "He wouldn't say. I just found him in a back lane." Debbie casts a quick glance toward the chemo ward doors, rattling with activity. She knows Tyrone tried to delay ABI, but Kevin's deception has snowballed beyond anyone's control. Her world tilts, her son, lying injured and still refusing to face what he must. She sets down the flowers, hands trembling. Determination hardens her jaw. Moments later, Carl Gallagher returns to the street, clutching an ice pack to his bruised eye. His gait is stiff, each step an echo of the confrontation. Debbie spots him outside the cabin and intercepts him. "Carl," she says quietly. "I know what happened." Carl's expression shifts from annoyance to wariness. Debbie, what are you talking about? You and Fiona, she snaps, voice low but urgent. Kevin saw you plotting at the mill, and then he slipped and got hurt chasing you. Carl glances around, as though fearful of eavesdroppers, then straightens his shoulders. That's between me and Fiona. Why are you sticking your nose in? Debbie's eyes blaze. Because Kevin's son, my son, is lying in a hospital bed because of you. She reaches into her purse and pulls out an envelope thick with banknotes. Take this. It's to cover any costs, your medical bills, mine, whatever it is. Just leave Kevin alone. Carl stares at the money, then at Debbie. His lip curls. I don't need your charity, he snarls, voice sharp enough to cut through the morning air. He thrusts the envelope back into her hand. Your son lied. He wasn't taking chemo. He's the one who needs to come clean, not me. Debbie's jaw clenches. She steps closer, voice hushed but fierce. He lies because he's scared. Scared of losing you, of disappointing ABI, and maybe himself. But this, she gestures at Carl's bruised face, this is your fault too. Carl's eyes narrow. The air crackles between them. He knows Debbie's right. The alchemy of lies he and Fiona have brewed has poisoned Kevin's world. Yet he cannot admit fault, not when his own ambitions hang in the balance. He pockets the envelope, his bravado returning. You've meddled enough, he warns. Stay out of my affairs. Debbie watches him stride away, the envelope burning her palm. She stands rooted on the pavement, torn between maternal fury and anguished compassion. She knows she must return to the hospital to be with Kevin, to confront him with the truth he so desperately hides, but first, she allows herself a moment to breathe in the chill air, the weight of parenthood pressing down on her shoulders like a dark cloak. Back at the hospital, Kevin lies on a narrow bed, the pale sheet pulled tight beneath his wound. His side aches every time he moves, a sharp reminder of the fall, and of how dangerously his lies have led him. Glenda hovers at his bedside, offering tea and soft words. He watches her, guilt blooming in his chest. She believes in him. ABI believes in him. Tyrone believes in him. And yet here he lies, caught in their webs of trust, too scared to untangle. The door opens, and Debbie slips inside, the envelope still clutched in her hand. She stands at the foot of the bed, hesitant. Kevin's face lifts, surprise and shame flickering across his features. Debs, he murmurs, voice raspy. She holds up the envelope. I met Carl, she says quietly. He refused the money. He even blamed you. Pain and anger flash in Kevin's eyes. I know, he whispers. He looks away, shame reddening his cheeks. I'm sorry. Debbie moves to sit beside him, folding the envelope neatly on the bedside table. You need to tell ABI the truth, she says, her tone gentle but firm. All of it. The cancer, the fall, everything. Kevin swallows hard, tears glistening at the corners of his eyes. I don't want to lose her, he confesses. I can't. You won't, Debbie interrupts, taking his hand. Not if you face this head-on. Secrets have a way of destroying the best of us. He nods, shoulders trembling. In that moment, the lie he has nurtured for weeks begins to crack, a fracture running deep through the foundation of his life. Outside the window, the grey morning light grows stronger, illuminating the sterile walls with pale hope. Kevin inhales, as though drawing courage from the air itself, and exhales in a long, steady sigh. He closes his eyes, bracing himself for the confession that will change everything. Somewhere beyond the ward doors, ABI waits, wondering why he did not arrive, why he has not called. Kevin knows that when he finally speaks the truth, their world will shatter and reassemble in ways he cannot yet imagine. But as Debbie's hand rests in his, warm and unwavering, he understands that honesty, no matter how painful, may be the only way back to the woman who loves him. And so, with the hush of anticipation hanging in that bright, antiseptic room, Kevin Webster steels himself to tell the story of his illness and of the lies that have grown from it. Knowing that only in the unvarnished light of truth can he hope to rebuild what he has broken. Coronation Street teased that the fragile mantle of truth, once lifted, will come crashing down upon every heart on the cobbles, and that the consequences of Kevin Webster's confession will ripple far beyond one hospital ward. Kevin had never felt the weight of silence as crushingly as he did when ABI burst into the hospital room that afternoon. The corridor outside still pulsed with the low murmur of trolleys and nurses' footsteps. He sat up unsteadily, shirt rumpled, cheeks hollowed by recent pain, as ABI's storm of concern gave way to horror. Her handbag thudded to the floor, and she dropped into the chair beside him, eyes rimmed red. "Why didn't you tell me?" she whispered, voice trembling. Kevin swallowed past the lump in his throat. He looked at his mother's worried face hovering in the doorway, Debbie's expression a blend of sympathy and reproach. But it was ABI's face he could barely meet. I thought I was sparing you." "Sparing me?" ABI echoed, hands shaking as she reached for his. "By lying. By letting me think you had cancer." Her voice caught and cracked. "I stood there on the ward, sharing tears with Gloria, telling her I'd lost you, and you weren't even there. You were hiding from me." Tears glistened in Kevin's eyes as he pressed his free hand to the foredrip. "I was scared. I saw what happened to my dad when he got sick, to Tyrone's sister with her cancer, how it tore families apart. I couldn't bear to put you through that." ABI's breath came in ragged gasps. "I'm not fragile, Kevin. I'm not a child. You made me love you, lean on you, believe in you. How could you?" Debbie stepped quietly inside, the envelope of money burning a line in her palm, as she placed it on the windowsill. "He's sorry, ABI," she said gently, voice soft but firm. "We all wanted to protect you." ABI blinked at Debbie, exhaustion and anger mingling on her face. For a moment she glanced at the envelope, then looked back at Kevin. "I need some air." She stood and fled the room, shoulders shaking, leaving a trail of echoing footsteps down the corridor. Kevin closed his eyes, heart pounding. Debbie perched on the edge of the bed. "You did the right thing in the end," she whispered. "But you have to give ABI time." He nodded, shame and relief mingling in his chest. Outside the window, the grey sky threatened rain, as though Weatherfield itself grieved his deception. Meanwhile, Carl Gallagher returned to the old mill workshop, boots clattering across the concrete floor. Fiona stood beside the workbench, her arms folded over her chest, brows furrowed. When Carl stepped in, Fiona's lips trembled. "He confessed," she said, voice small. "Kevin told her everything." Carl scowled, crossing to a rusted filing cabinet, where he kept his sketches for the Flash engine. He ripped open the top drawer and snarled as documents spilled out. "Then our insurance policy just expired," he muttered. "He's not afraid of me anymore." Fiona reached for his arm. "What do we do?" Carl ran a tense hand through his hair. "We keep moving. We finish the prototype, get it out of the factory. We sell it fast, no more delays." Fiona swallowed. "Carl, maybe we should back off. Kevin's vengeance could be dangerous." Carl rounded on her, anger igniting his eyes. "You think I'm scared of him? I built my life on risk, Fiona. When did you start worrying about consequences?" Fiona recoiled, then pressed her mouth into a hard line. "I'm worried about us." Carl's jaw clenched, but he turned away, picking up a wrench and examining the worn handle. He let out a slow breath. I've invested too much to quit now. He strode across the workshop, flipped the light switch, and plunged the space into darkness. The only illumination came from the thin strip of daylight through the boarded windows, casting long shadows around Fiona's pale face. Across the street, Tyrone Dobbs waited for ABI outside the entrance to the hospital. He had tried to delay ABI's arrival that afternoon by claiming a scheduling mix-up, an honest white lie to give Kevin time to come clean. But Tyrone had worried that Kevin would never do it. Now he spotted ABI, shoulders stiff, hair clinging damp curls to her cheeks. Tyrone fell into step beside her. "Are you okay?" he asked, keeping his voice gentle. ABI's jaw tightened. He lied. To me. 4 weeks. Tyrone sighed. He had seen Kevin wrestle with shame, had watched his friend break under the burden of a truth he could not face. "He's sorry," he said. ABI shook her head. "Sorry doesn't bring back the time we spent crying together, or the panic I felt. I treated you like you were dying, Kev, it's personal. It's trust." She glanced at Tyrone. "How long did you know?" Tyrone winced. "I only guessed, after he started missing sessions. But I never thought." "Don't." ABI cut him off. "No more excuses." She turned on her heel and marched back toward the hospital doors. Tyrone followed, helpless. Inside the ward, Debbie sat with her head bowed. When Kevin re-entered and met her gaze, she rose. "I'll go find her," she said. "She needs someone on her side." Kevin closed his eyes, bracing himself. But before he could speak, Tyrone appeared in the doorway. His jaw was set. "You need to give her space," Tyrone said. "But you need to start making amends right now." Kevin nodded, voice hollow. "I know." As Debbie and Tyrone slipped away, Kevin sat alone on the edge of the bed, clasping the blue woolen blanket that lay across his lap. Each second stretched into an eternity, as he considered the ruin he had caused. Outside the window, puddles shimmered in the hospital courtyard. That evening, ABI found solace in the narrow back street behind Kelly's coffee corner. She sank to the curb, hands clasped around her knees, as the drizzle began anew. The light in her chest flickered hopelessly. Tyrone approached silently, carrying 2 cups of tea in a newspaper-wrapped sleeve. He sat at her side. "I'm sorry," he said simply, pressing a cuppa into her hands. The warmth seeped through her fingers. "When he told me what he planned to do, I tried to stop him. But I can't fix this for you." ABI stared at the swirling steam. "I loved him," she whispered. "I trusted him more than anyone." Tyrone nodded. "I know." He hesitated, then added, "He doesn't deserve forgiveness. But he deserves the chance to earn it." ABI closed her eyes, listening to Tyrone's steady voice. The rain intensified, a patter on the paving stones like 1,000 tiny drums. She realized she was crying, but not from anger. From the ache of dashed hopes and the stubborn flicker of compassion. "Thank you," she murmured. She looked up at Tyrone, who offered her a half-smile. In that moment, ABI understood that the road ahead would be rocky, and that Tyrone would walk some of it with her.